country, our nation is going through some really difficult times, and all of you guys are in the midst of that. And what as I prepared to talk to you guys tonight, I wanted to share one comment that was shared with me many years ago. And it was a general who was speaking, and he was talking about the way his philosophy on leading. And I never forgot what he said, but he said, when you look at individuals, you need to look at them as unique, precious, and unrepeatable. And I'll repeat that. Everyone you deal with is unique, precious, and unrepeatable. And it really stuck with me because I think that's how he thought of us when he was taking care of us. And I thought, oh, as a physician, as an officer, as an American, as a husband, a father, everyone I run into, if I have that opinion or that thought, even the people who annoy me, who bother me, who anger me, that you have that, it really goes a long way. And I put it in when every patient I see, every interaction, and do I always excel at it and really loving them and recognizing that? But it helps me. It really does help me. And so I wanted to share that with you guys tonight because it was one of those things that I steal now whenever I have to take over or lead. I actually let the people I lead know that's how I look at them. That's how I see them. And I do everything in my power to do that. And so I thought it was just fitting with what we're seeing going on in the world, this atrocities, the things that, the division that we see in the country right now. If we really embraced that idea, we would bring this division together. We would really unite us together in that regard. The second thing I wanted to say with you, and I wanted to leave with you, and it was actually when I graduated from flight surgery, and this was after my internship, and then I did my flight surgery training. One of our speaker, and you have so many speakers that talk to you, so many graduations, and you never remember what they all say. But this speaker really inspired me, and he said one thing, and it's the one thing I remember, is he said, if you haven't already started, start a journal. And it was right at the start of my career as I was really going out to be a physician. This was in 2002. And what he said is have a journal. And so I bought a journal that day, and I keep that journal on my nightstand. It's wherever I am or wherever I sleep. I even took it with me when I've deployed. And not that I write in that journal every day. And in fact, I probably some years maybe have 1 or 2 entries in that journal. But what I wanted to leave this with you because you guys are now embarking on your journey as physicians, your journey as officers, your journey now to go into a profession where you're going to protect and you're going to help others. And you're going to do that for our whole nation and for your patients. And so really with all these things going on, you will really enjoy this because if you write your thoughts, what's going through your head now and what you're thinking, and when you have these powerful moments like this going on, I'm getting ready to join the services, I'm getting ready to embark my medical school career. What are you thinking at a time? And I really have found it was one of the best advice I had. I can go back now 20 years and I can see what I was thinking or how I've grown and how I've matured. And they're just some random entries, but some of the things I didn't even remember. I was actually thrumming through it when I was getting ready to speak to you guys tonight, thinking, my goodness, this is a gold mine of just how I felt and what I was doing. And so I want to leave that with you guys. But that being said, I am really excited to introduce our team, which many of them you're already getting to know, you're going to know very well. And at the same time, I will have to say, and I've said that in my emails to you, you guys are my first class. And I am really, really proud of you guys and excited because we have really compiled a great group of individuals. And I'm really excited to work with you guys in the future, and also to know that you're going to be the ones taking care of me when I am retired and old. So thank you for that. With that being said, I'd love to now introduce Colonel Williams, your Dean for Student Affairs, and she's here right on the screen now. I see her. So, Dr. Williams.
Good evening, everyone. I am Pam Williams. I am a family medicine physician, and I am the Associate Dean for Student Affairs, or the Dean of Students. And we really felt that given how chaotic, how unusual your transition to medical school will be compared to years past, that we wanted to take advantage of the tool that we are using quite a lot with our students on an everyday basis to really enhance our communication. And we thought it would be helpful for us to come together so that you really do start to get to know us now, because this is a tool that we're going to have to use probably throughout the course of your arrival here on campus to a varying degree. We don't know yet what the pandemic is going to do in terms of how we have our campus open, but we have really come together in the last several months and very clearly determined as a team that our two primary commitments are the health and safety of our people and the continuity of education. And that means we're working very hard right now to prepare for your arrival on campus so that we begin your journey to becoming a physician in the same timeline, probably in a little bit different a way than we've done in the past, but knowing that we are going to walk you right into the curriculum right on time and be prepared for that. And so it's just really important that we start to work together as a community and work with you and make certain that you're ready for this. Our students that we're working with right now, that we are successfully continuing their education in spite of these different conditions, we have found that bringing them together is important because there are different questions that are out there right now because of the pandemic circumstances. And so a lot of our goals for this evening is not to spend the time with you just talking at you, but we really want to talk with you. And so I am going to, I think, just allow you, you've heard those priorities, safety and education. We are going to try and enhance the number of communications that we typically do with students over the summer while you're in the course of your officer training, so that you really do understand what's going to come when you get to campus and what that looks like. And we are very, very much in planning a couple of different contingencies of how your arrival and orientation might occur, because no matter what, it's going to happen. And we're just very excited for that. So I'm going to let the rest of my team in student affairs. So I'm the associate dean. I have two assistant deans. They're going to introduce themselves. Dr. Landau already spoke, and you're going to meet Dr. Bell, our director of well-being. And then we're going to have Colonel Kimball Ayers say a few words. She's your commandant of students. And then once we've all done our part, then we are going to open the floor to questions. And typically what we find is best for that is to use the chat function, and then we'll call on people. So we'll go through those instructions when we get a little bit closer to that end. And we're going to do this until 9:30. And then at 9:30, I'm going to call it a night for all of us. It's been a long day for some of us already. I don't know what coasts or and time zones you're all on, but I told my team that we're going past my bedtime because I'm a early to bed, early to rise person. And I like to respect people's time. So with that, Dr. Moranich, you want to introduce yourself and just say a few words?
Sure. So good evening. Hi, everybody. I'm Ashley Moranich. I am an Army pediatric infectious disease doc by training, and quite astounded to find myself in the middle of a pandemic, not doing infectious disease care on a day-to-day basis, but certainly enjoying the efforts that we are doing, focusing on students and the folks who will soon be your classmates. You will get to know me a lot better in the second half of your medical school career. So I will kind of primarily be responsible for you guys when you enter the clinical phase of your education. And that's when Dr. Landau does his baton handoff to me. So you just can see my face now. You'll eventually learn how to pronounce my name. But in the meantime, I do just go by Dr. M, Colonel M, or Hey You. Sometimes works just fine as well. And I think before I turn over to Dr. Landau, I just want to say something you guys will hear here at USU a lot is this idea that we're one team and one fight. And so I just want to officially welcome all of you guys to the team. We're really excited to have you. Dr. Landau.
Thank you, Dr. Moranich. So good evening. I'm really excited. Orientation is one of my favorite times of the year. All parts of the year are a lot of fun. I really enjoy working with you all. So I'm a clinical psychologist by training. And so a little bit different perspective that I bring working with you all in the preclinical time frame. So working with you in the basic science, and we do a lot of work around academic success and study skills and all of those things, helping get you all ready for that transition to clerkship that Dr. Moranich talked about. So we are going to have a very robust orientation, I promise you, as Dr. Williams alluded to, and I'm not going to take up too much time tonight in previewing too much of that, other than to tell you that one of my fundamental things I think is so important is transparency and communication. So that's really important to me. I think that in medical school, you're going to get a lot of feedback from us in the forms of assessments and clinical skills and all of those things. And so I also love and embrace feedback from you all. And so to me, communication is a really big two-way street. And I really am glad we're having an opportunity to communicate with you all early and often, because it's really important that we get a chance to develop a great relationship in student affairs as you move through your medical school career. And so that's one of the things that we'll be emphasizing tonight, is that we're still working a lot of the details, and a lot of the details continue to flux in this global pandemic, but we will continue to communicate with you all regularly throughout the summer and give opportunities, hopefully, for you all to communicate with one another as well, so that you can start the school year getting to know one another, getting to bond as a class, getting to bond, as Dr. Moran talked about, to this one team, one fight. You know, the greatest thing I think about USU is what a community of scholars it is. So really excited to have you. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Bell, our well-being coordinator. She's going to talk a little bit about some new things we're doing in orientation that I think is actually was planned well before some of the horrific events of the past week, but could not be more timely, I think. And so we're excited to kind of talk a little bit about some of that in this context. So Dr. Bell?
Thank you. So I'm Kamea Bell, and as indicated, I run our well-being program. And while I am a separate position, we call it a separate program, well-being at USU really is integrated into all aspects of OSA, and we're very focused on creating a positive learning environment and experience for you all, as well as supporting your personal growth in your journey and support and being responsible really in owning your well-being. So that's, we work very collaboratively with you all and as a team to support that process. So really excited about that. And as Dr. Landau indicated, we are planning some new and unique initiatives this summer, since your experience will be slightly modified and some of the traditional times that you all are able to gather and form community may not be happening in the same way that they have for past classes and past years. We're going to create some new experiences to help foster that and support that. So we're figuring all that out right now, as Dr. Williams indicated, and as soon as we have those things laid out, we will be communicating it out to you, and hopefully we'll be engaging with senior classmen and women as well to, again, kind of develop that mentorship and fold you into the community as soon as possible. And then, as Dr. Landau indicated, new this year is a Read With Us program as part of USU. And that is intentional because the focus is on the incoming class, but we're actually extending to our entire university community, because we believe that having everyone participate in a common read is a very effective way to build community, to give people a commonality, things to talk about together and to grow from together. And we're all kind of on that growing journey together, which is really important. And again, supporting our community. So we did want to highlight that given the situation, while we're providing the book to you in hard copy at orientation, the movie is actually being streamed for free right now. So Just Mercy, if you weren't aware, there is also a movie for the book made based on the book, and you can go to justmercyfilm.com, and for the month of June, it's streaming for free on a variety of platforms. So if you're interested, it's very timely, of course. We chose the book for a number of topics, a number of reasons, but it's very fortunate that we chose that book given what's happening in our community, and we hope you'll take advantage of that free streaming and think about some of the points we encourage you to consider as you're reading and reviewing the book. So look forward to meeting you all in person and potentially in other virtual platforms over the summer. And then I will turn over back to Dr. Landau or to Kimball Ayers.
I have a question, Kamea.
Yes, ma'am.
Is Shetland going to be able to make an appearance tonight?
He's already in bed in my daughter's room.
Oh my goodness. All right, well that's too bad. All right, you guys all need to know that Dr. Bell is the keeper of Shetland, and normally he would get up on her chair and visit, but alas, he's earlier to bed than me. That's hard to believe.
He definitely is, ma'am. He has you beat for sure. Sorry about that.
Well, Colonel Kimball,
I was just gonna say, if you're not already following Shetland on Instagram, please check him out. He's got quite the adventures happening.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Sorry, hold on. There we go. Okay. All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Colonel Catherine Kimball Ayers, and I'm trying to paste something in the chat, which leave it to me is not working. Give me 1 second here just to make sure it gets in there. There we go. Okay. I am a general pediatrician by training. And I am the commandant. So I represent my team, the company commanders, who many of whom you've already been in touch with, represent the military side of your guidance while you're at USU. So we are here to guide you through the military portion and be sort of your administrative chain and to do those kind of things. I think, what year did I graduate? Oh, thank you for pointing that out. I'm also an alum. Yeah, I'm a class of 99. Maybe, why did you have to point out that it was that long ago, though?
Well, mine's further back than yours, just not from this university, so it's okay.
Yes, I am also an alum. I am the class of 99, and I think one of the things for you all to realize, look around now, we'll say it to you again and again and again, but look around, you are going to be spending a lot of time with these folks, not just at the medical school, but the rest of your career. People don't always believe me, but it truly happens. I interact with one of my classmates almost every single day, either because it's one of my friends that I'm texting or Facebooking or all those kind of things, or it's a colleague. So I absolutely interact with my classmates on a regular basis. So I hope you like your class, because you're going to get to know them really well over the future. A couple things that we just wanted to be, typically we are the administrative side. So, now you get to hear the administrative piece. I pasted the email address in to remind you. You all should have gotten an email to start working on your SAR forms and start letting us know information about when you're arriving and where you're going to be staying, whether it's at the Navy Lodge or whether you'll have a residence at that point. We do need all that information back by 20 June. Why is that stuff important? Well, as you've already heard multiple times, orientation is going to look a little different this year than it has in past years. And one of the things that my company command team is trying to really do is to make sure that we get you as in-processed and as much computer access and all that kind of stuff before you even come to campus. And the only way we can do that is to get those forms in. The military loves their forms. The uniformed services are all about them. So we need those forms in so that we can start working on security and working on getting you the access to the USU system. And that way we can do a lot of stuff through the USU system and get you onto these platforms that we can help. Yeah, and lots of passwords that we can help educate you, even if we're not able to necessarily be there with you face to face. The other reason, normally we're not necessarily prying into exactly where you're going to be the day you get here, where you're going to stay. But because of the pandemic, as I'm sure many of you are aware, there are a lot more restrictions in terms of if people need to do what we call a restriction of movement. So not really quarantine, restriction of movement for 2 weeks when they come into town. That is primarily currently happening if you're staying at the Navy Lodge, although that may be changing over the next few days. But it's just really important that we know exactly when you're coming to town and where you're going to be living when you do that, so that if we do need you to do those restriction of movements, we can help support you, make sure you can get the groceries, all those kind of things. So there really is reason behind that information that we're getting from you. So please make sure we get that information by 20 June. I know that some of you probably, when you might have tried to email that information and got you're not allowed to access this email note, we fixed that problem. At least for today, we fixed that problem. If you get that email again, would you please reach out? My email address is on in the CC line of the email. I'm the only Kimball Ayers, I promise. I'm not too hard to find. Please reach out and let us know that that's not working again. This is a new thing that we're allowing lots of people outside the university access to one Google area, and the school's a little nervous, but they're working with us and it's going to be great. But every once in a while someone sees that and they're like, no, that can't be, and they flip a switch. So sometimes we just have to remind them to flip the switch back. So The one other thing that we did want to address, because I know the questions have come up and so we had heard about it, is I understand that there are lots of questions in terms of what is and what isn't allowed in terms of participating in protests or being political or all those kind of things. Well, we can't see, hold on one second. Let me finish talking about this, Esther, and I will address that. So the first thing I want to say is, please, Dr. Leota last night emailed out some really nice do's and don'ts that our JAG, our legal officer for the brigade, put together. That is he was very thoughtful about putting that together, and it is a really nice go by for you in terms of what is and isn't okay for uniformed personnel. The big things to realize are that really, you shouldn't be doing anything in uniform. Okay, that's an easy answer. Always be safe, no matter what you're doing. You are still an American citizen, okay? So you are allowed to protest. Please be safe no matter what you do. And always remember that there are some limits, right? In terms of your social media, in terms of what you could say on your social media and things like that. And I would point you towards that guide, that sort of do's and don'ts, because it does really list out nicely. If you have concerns or questions about what's still okay and not okay, please reach back and we'll help talk you through that so that hopefully we can help you make more sense of that. Okay, now I wanted to go to Esther's, well, it's in the form, I submitted mine, but I'm not certain it was received. We will, Esther, basically, this is one of those good, no news is good news kind of thing, okay? Because we'll be checking people off our list. And so if you don't hear from us, that means we got it and we're good moving forward. We will reach out if we didn't get that information or if there's another concern, okay? Kevin Hickey, I saw that you're on the line, so if I'm supposed to say something different about that, would you let me know? Kevin Hickey is our Army company commander, and he's helping to lead the effort in terms of that. The rest of my company command team, so Major Marquita Moore, who's my Air Force company commander, Lieutenant Nate Allison, who both Major Moore and Lieutenant Allison will be switching out, but they'll be getting you up and rolling. HM1 Prass is our senior enlisted advisor for the Navy. Master Sergeant Brian Konashevitz is our SEA for the Air Force, and then we'll be getting a new SEA for the Army about the same time you guys are coming in, Sergeant First Class Dickinson. If we do not,
the question for you next is, if they don't know where they're staying, how should they update you, or when should they update you with that information?
So you can be in touch with, you can send it to that email and that will be fine. That is a monitored group email. You can also send it to your company command team once you have that information. Either place is fine.
All right. Anything else, Colonel Kimballers?
I think I'm good. Thanks.
All right. Well, this is where the chaos starts to ensue. We're going to give you guys the opportunity. We usually have a
moderator,
senior student who's moderating these sessions, but we're going to do our best. So what I will say is that if we miss your question, we will get actually the list of questions will be recorded. Dr. Landau, I think you're recording this for us, or someone is. So if we miss something, we'll run back through the questions. And if we see that we've missed someone's, we can send that out to all of you via email. But this is the time where we give you the opportunity to either stare us in the face and not say anything, or you can put some questions into the chat and we can do our best to try and answer those. With 85 of you, 89 of you, it's really hard for me to have you go off mic and speak up, because then you all start talking over each other. But if you can put your questions in the chat, we'll repeat the question and then take turns and answer whichever one of us feels that we're most expert in answering that question. So don't be shy. I know someone's got a question out there.
I was like, could you explain the process of the scroll approval? Okay, so that would be me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Lauren,
you asked the most complicated question first. Good job.
I was like,
so well, Lauren Kent asked, explain the process of scroll approval. I've been in the Air Force now for going on a lot of years. I will tell you that it's hard for me to understand the scroll process after a couple of decades of hearing about it. So it is a very complex and complicated process, and it's a little bit different for each branch of the service. How am I doing, Colonel Conboy?
I think that's lovely. And so I think the easy answer is, please don't think that you're not getting insight because we don't want to give it to you. It's because it is a very challenging process. I think the easiest thing to understand is that all officer appointments require congressional approval. So that's what those scrolls are. Okay, so each service has to put together a scroll and it has to go through Congress. Anybody that thinks that Congress is super efficient is probably not paying attention. Okay. That is still legal to say. I didn't insult anyone in particular. Congress is not efficient. Government's not efficient in general. Okay. And so it is a slow process to get through. In order to get your appointment and to become an officer in the military, you have to be scrolled. That is the sort of the first part of the domino that must fall for the rest of the stuff to occur. There have been some significant, partially because of the pandemic, but partially because of a bunch of other, factors. There have been some delays this spring in getting stuff to the scrolling process. So many of you have been delayed in your scrolls. It'll happen. It's going to be fine. Hang in there. But that's about as much transparency as I can give you about the process.
So
Ryan, this one's yours. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Ryan, I'm seeing two themes. Ryan, why don't you speak one to like how things are being adapted for the hybrid environment, and then I'll talk a little bit about what I see in my crystal ball about where we might be in the fall, because that's probably my level of question to try and answer for us.
Okay. Well, I mean, I will say in general, whatever service has their own expressions, but I think flexibility is the key to air power. And so I think that your faculty have been thinking about these questions since March, since all this started. So even though I know this town hall came together really quickly, that's not because we haven't been wrestling with these questions, but because, as Dr. Williams alluded to, the crystal ball breaks on a daily basis probably for us. And so we had orientation planned out pretty well in February, and then we've had to continually scrap and revise our plans. And so as far as the lab curriculum, I will tell you that there are plans in place that are consistent with CDC guidelines. We have our students returning to clinical work in the next 2 weeks. And there are plans, for example, you all will be doing medical interviewing and physical exam very early on in the curriculum. And there are plans in place for how to conduct those safely and effectively, but with proper social distancing, with proper PPE. And so, Dr. Williams will talk a little bit about the crystal ball as far as what phases we may be at, but I can tell you that we have a phased return for campus, and with each of those are corresponding expectations for how large our groups can be in terms of whether or not we're going to be doing large group classes or things like that. In general, one of the reasons that we're working so hard to try to get you all access to the system is so very shortly we hope to be able to introduce you to your fire teams. And those are going to be groups of about 4, and then there's a parallel fire team that groups into a fire family or a squad, depending on which term you like. And those groups of 8 end up doing a lot of curricular elements together. So a lot of the lab work that you will be doing will likely be in small groups. Even now, currently, we do have our students have access to our anatomy lab. There's a process for signing up, and most of the lab is on by pro section rather than them needing to go into the cadaver and dissect themselves. But so there are adaptations, but we have been able to move students through the curriculum and through a lot of their lab experiences, as well as those experiences that are more traditionally didactic, right? So someone sitting in a lecture hall listening to a speaker, those actually translate really nicely online. And sometimes they even are better online sometimes. And so I think you can expect that a lot of your larger didactic instruction is going to be online in the fall. Now, there may be an option for some to come to campus for those who prefer in person if, you know, we're at a state where that is reasonable. But a lot of that is going to be available online and encouraged to take advantage of that. And then a lot of your lab work will be within that fire team. And that way, if someone does contract COVID, it makes contact tracing much easier, right? If we know who has been interacting with which group. So another reason why we want to make sure that you all get a chance to get to know your fire team, because you're going to be spending a lot of time with them. And historically, Dr. Bell can allude to this, Dr. Kimball-Ayers can allude to this, the fire teams are a hallmark of the university. A lot of times they're a really strong part of that community. I expect this is only going to make them stronger. And so we want to make sure that you all get a chance to get to know your team early on. Dr. Rose, I don't know if you want me to elaborate more, or if that kind of hand it over to you for the bigger
No,
picture.
I think that go ahead.
I was just going to piggyback on what Dr. Landau was saying, just to let you guys know that clearly, like, we have pivoted a lot of things to distance learning platforms. And I think one thing that we've really, as a university, tried to be mindful of is that may actually be a better way to go in some situations. And so we're really trying to garner kind of some of these lessons learned, and are there places where it makes sense for that to be the new normal, regardless of the pandemic or other situations. So, you know, I think you guys are going to be the beneficiaries of what we have learned over the past several months. All right, Dr. Williams, over to you. Sorry for that.
Yeah, so two words that continuously come to mind for me recently is pivot and innovate. We have to grow from this experience and identify new strategies of learning and teaching that are going to take us into the future, because I do think there's a lot of things that are going on now that we will realize, why did we do what we used to do in the past, and we're letting go of things and learning new things. So I've seen the questions of, you know, have final decisions been made about what percent of the orientation will be in person or not? Are we going to be in person in the fall for classes or not? And so many of those are things that I wish I could tell you the answers to, but the way this pandemic has been playing out is we can't know the answers to those things. What I can tell you is that we certainly have a commitment that if it is safe for the student body to be present on campus, our preference is to have folks on our campus and interacting in one another in what we say now is 3D, the real thing, because there's great benefit to it. But we're only going to be able to do that in manners that are assessed as being safe for where we are with the pandemic and our phased return to normal activities. And I can't tell any of you that I know where we're going to be in August when you come to campus. We certainly hope we are at a place where we are closer to normal than to where we've been for the past few months. But we are preparing for really the whole gamut of being potentially having to do all of orientation or nearly everything virtual, to being able to, probably we wouldn't do everything like we did in the past, because I think that probably until we have an immunization to protect all of us, we can't do things like we used to put 175 people into a room at one time. It's just not the right thing to do from that value of safety that I mentioned. So what I can tell you is that we are working multiple contingencies, and there will be a point in time where we get close enough that we're going to be able to make the call of which way we're going to go, and we'll stick with that plan. And we will make certain that we communicate that information to you. But again, I want you to leave this town hall slate today, this town hall time together, knowing that we are working the details. We are working multiple plans. You will know the plan when I think it's close enough that you're going to be needing to do things to take actions based upon what our plan is. And I need you to know that we value your safety, your education, and building together and doing our work together as a community. So if we can, and when we can physically have you together, we will work that piece. I saw one question that related to studying on campus. And certainly we know that for some individuals, having a place to study, such as a library or being in one of our classrooms really is helpful for their studying. And that's been a challenge for some of our students this past several months when we've really had to highly restrict any access to campus. Our Dean Kellerman, President Thomas know how important access to the library and to the campus is. And they're really committed to doing that and having that for our students, but we have to do it in safe ways. So like right now, we're just starting to reopen our library and we're looking at very limited access that will become less restrictive with each phase of opening. But we probably are going to have new things like a specific density number of students that can be in the library at a given time, which may mean people have to sign up. We may have to have assigned seating in the library as opposed to just sitting wherever you want, so that we can, if there were ever an issue of an outbreak, we can know where someone was and who was sitting around them at a given point in time, and we can do that contact tracing. So I just give you these as some examples of the different ways that we have to think about managing the health and well-being of the people on our campus. And students are only one piece of it. We've got graduate students, we've got researchers, we've got other physician educators, we've got all sorts of things on our campus, our enlisted cadre. We've got a whole host of people that we have to think about, and how do we all work together successfully in this area. So lots of meetings, lots of thinking. We are committed to getting your education off and running right on time so that you can get right into our curriculum that we've proven through these last 3 months that we can execute given whatever environment we're given to do the education. So I'm excited for you to get started on all that. Now, Colonel Kimber,
I'd say
military
for you.
and everything.
Let me, so what I'm going to try, I've been scrolling through them. So in terms of orders, reporting, those kind of things, your company command team is really your best bet in terms of contacting. I have questions about when I should get my orders, the 50-mile question, those kind of things. Please check in with your company command team. They are happy to help you. That's why they're there, okay? They will help guide you through what you should be expecting when and all those kind of things. For those that are going to the July DCC, don't panic. It's okay. There's like 25 of you. It'll be fine. I promise. All right. We have a plan. We're going to get a whole bunch of stuff to you either prior to or during DCC. This will be, honestly, actually the advantage that probably a good chunk of orientation is going to be doing virtual stuff and recorded stuff is going to be to your benefit because you get to watch it all too. Okay. So it'll all work out. We've got a plan. We're going to get you started right on time with everybody else. It'll take a little hustling, but it's going to happen. In terms of those of you who are not able to go to COT, ODS, those kind of things, and that we may be doing sort of a basic program, also don't worry. We've done it in the past. We'll be doing some of that in terms of what was I going to say, in terms of just, getting you oriented. For those of you that are brand new to the service, but still not able to go to your officer training, we've done it before. We'll do it again. For those of you that have prior service, but I'll be reporting here this summer, you may be helping us train some of those that don't have prior service or don't have that advantage. So we will be finding stuff for folks. We'll be keeping accountability of you and those kind of questions. The last one I think that sort of applies to me, there was a question about, there's two more. One that was the access about gyms. I don't know what to tell you right now. It sort of depends. I do think that probably by the time you guys are at least doing orientation on campus in August, the gyms will be open to some capacity, but I do think it's going to be limited capacity. I don't know what that's going to look like though. So I'm not going to 100% promise you that you're going to have a gym to work out in. All the services are currently have waived there are no PT test requirements until 1 October. And then all the services are reassessing 1 October, whether or not they will need to push that further because of not having access to gyms and all that kind of stuff. For those of you in the Army who are thinking about the new ACFT, that has also been pushed. It will not be rolling out 1 October. The regular, if we go back to a physical fitness test, requirement in October. It will be the regular PT test, and then, the previous, the APFT, and then at some point the ACFT will roll out. Thank you, Dr. Leota. That's really helpful. There was one other one that I thought was me, and then I was going to hardship duty pay. So no, if you have to do restriction of movement when you come, we just verified this with the finance people, you do not get hardship duty pay for that. I'm sorry. So I think those are the ones that all applied to me.
So I think we have, I see the question about quarantine at officer training. I think we have a little bit of insights from we have some current students in the class of 21 who have done COT and ODS. And I think I know more about COT than ODS. Catherine, maybe you know, but at COT, they had really 2 weeks that they sort of hung out and did their own thing in their own room and did their learning in that environment. And then they were sort of cohorted with a smaller group of their peers in groups of, I think, like 12 to 16. And they did everything with that group of people. They had some very specific ways in which they ate their meals, how they moved around their training locations. All in all, our students loved their training recently. They were surprised at how much they enjoyed it. They felt safe the entire time. And I actually think those of you who are coming from officer training right to our area, I feel very comfortable. I don't think we've gotten a final determination on a restriction of movement, but I would like to think we're smart enough to know that you're coming from a low risk environment to our area, and we may not need to do much of that, but we'll know more in another 6 to 8 weeks, really what the requirements are for our arrivals.
And ODS has a very similar, the first 2 weeks, it's restricted to your room, doing a lot of online stuff, and then your small cohorts, which is part of why we were not able to send as many people to ODS. That's part of why we have such a chunk in the Navy that are not able to go to ODS, and that's because they had to decrease their numbers because of the space requirements needed to be able to do the appropriate physical distancing for folks.
So Dr. Landau, it looks like there were some questions about when they might be able to learn who is in their fire team. Do we have any guess on a timeline for that at this point?
Yeah, we do. So one of the reasons that, again, we have been waiting to reach out to you is, as some of you know, your class is not yet final, although it's getting very, very close. And so Dr. Leota has been great at updating us as there are small changes to your class. And as you all go on to training, that should finalize. Once the class is set, then our module admin team goes to work, and they have, and I've been up in the office when they're doing this, it is Post-it notes all over the wall to ensure that the fire teams are balanced in every way you could possibly imagine, because we know that diversity helps to encourage learning. And so you will be matched into fire teams that have every service branch and undergraduate major and prior service and non-prior service and all of those things. Because again, I am not a prior service, and I learned so much from my prior service colleagues, and I think they have also learned a lot from what I learned at the University of Miami. And so that is a complex process to balance the fire teams and all that way, and even one person will disrupt that. So that's why we're waiting till the roster is set. I talked to the module admin team a couple of weeks ago. They understand how we really want to roll this out very quickly, and so they're going to do their very best to try to get something to us near the end of June, or early July. Normally, it's actually the end of July, and so we're going to try to actually move that up about a month if we can. So I hope that we'll be able to share that information with you around that 4th of July holiday. If it's delayed, we'll communicate that, and just know that it's because, again, this is a big lift, and we're making a lot of big lifts, as you can imagine right now. And so that team is trying to accelerate a process that normally they have 3 or 4 more weeks to do, in addition to a lot of the other things that they're working on. Dr. Williams, I did see another question regarding Bushmaster. I don't know if you want to tackle that one, or if you want me just to share the news. They've
heard about Bushmaster, and what are we doing this year? Is that the question?
They're saying typically it's in the fall, and our MS1 is going to be able to participate. So
yeah, so there was a real in-depth review about the practicality of running the event this fall. The President Thomas, Dean Kellerman, Dean Romanos, the Dean of the School of Medicine, and the Dean of the Nursing School were given a briefing just a few days ago by the Department Chair of Military Emergency Medicine who runs it. And ultimately, they came to the conclusion that we cannot safely and effectively run the event this fall. But rather than making a decision to cancel it, the decision has been made to move the event to next spring with the hope, and there has to be a hope, that the situation will allow for us to run the full field exercise. So that is resulting in pivot and innovate, right? So what are we doing now? So we are revising the schedule both for the senior class as well as looking at modifying your academic calendar to allow for you to have that exercise, field training exercise with the senior class, which has become an awesome tradition and an excellent way for you to learn by seeing the peers who are ahead of you on our curriculum participating in that exercise. So we're hoping to do that just after neuroscience module. So that's module 4 and before the GI module 5. So we're going to carve out time in there by moving some things a little bit, what we call a little left and a little right. The time in the fall that would have been when you would have 2 weeks of that field training and that event, where we think it's really important for developing your new professional identity as a military officer. It's a great time for team building and community building. They're having a lot of fun thinking about how to do some of what we would do in Bushmaster still during that time. So calling it, today's terminology was Bushmaster Light. So we get a little bit of that. But also identifying some other really innovative curricular elements that we've been thinking about playing around with and trying. And we've created some space in our canvas where we get to paint a little bit of a new picture of what we want it to look like, at least for your class. So I expect we will have a very creative and exciting and interesting time for you there. And some other interesting things might come out as a result of it. One thing we typically do in the spring is your white coat ceremony, and that's when you might do Bushmaster. So now the thinking is maybe we'll do your white coat ceremony this fall. So there's all sorts of creative thoughts and shifts that are happening, and I find it really exciting. As an educator, anytime that we get to play around and craft, there's just newness that can come that makes things a lot of fun. And we've certainly done a lot of innovative things this year, and I'm fully expecting that we're going to do the same for you all this fall. And I'm really excited that the goal right now is to give you that Bushmaster experience. It's just going to have to be in a little bit different of a time frame.
Yeah, I just want to echo that, and I want to thank those of you who've chatted about valuing the transparency here. It's great to hear. It's really important to us, and I think know that we recognize the value that Bushmaster plays in students for the fall too. So I am really excited about what we're going to be able to put together in the fall for you all to have a chance to come together as a community and in the spring. And it's another reason why, again, you're hearing that theme of community building. We really want to take a very intentional approach because we know that it's going to look a little different over the summer and into the fall, but different isn't always a bad thing. It's an opportunity to kind of grow and excel. So I'm not seeing other questions, and I know we're getting close to Dr. Williams' bedtime. So I think we'll give a few more minutes if anyone's just slowly trying to type some questions in. As Dr. Williams alluded to, we'll also review the chat record, and if there's any follow-up, we'll make sure to communicate. As of now, I'm leaning towards wanting to communicate with you all at least every couple of weeks. So that may flex a little bit as we get more information or if we don't have new information to change. But please, I think, expect that you're going to hear or see something from us at least every couple of weeks or so over the next 1 to 2 months, as we want to make sure we share information as it becomes available.
Ryan, there's a question about parking.
Yep.
So the parking right now is in flux because there's not that many people on campus. So the parking is not restricted right now, but you are absolutely right. In general, parking is restricted and limited. So please don't count on parking. At this point, public transportation is still up and running, and expect even more so by the time you guys start orientation. Both the metro and the buses come to various spots around the base, and then we do have USU shuttles that go to those places, and so they you should be able to take public transportation, and there will be more information in terms of some of the welcome packets. We'll be able to come for our CAC before school starts, as I don't know. So there's going to be very specific instructions. Part of what my team is doing is getting all that stuff prepped so that we can take you in small groups to security and those kind of places, and have the pass and ID all set to let you in, have you come get your CACs in small groups, and so that will be all orientation stuff. Is it difficult to get a carpool parking pass? I will say, Steph, that it is easier to get a carpool parking pass than it is to get a regular parking pass. So if you already know that you and 3 other friends or 2 other friends want a carpool, yes, because I can actually convince them to give me more carpool passes. I cannot convince them to give me more parking passes. So it is easier to get a carpool pass than a parking pass. The recording, I think, Ryan, you were going to find a way to send them the recording. Is that correct?
We're going to work on that. The challenge is right now, obviously, you are outside of our USU bubble in terms of where your emails are located, right? You're in our bubble as far as our community, but if we send this email out, it actually would need to go through external affairs because it's not staying internal to the university. So we're going to work with our external affairs office to either find a way to do that, or part of what Dr. Kimball-Ayers was talking about in terms of getting you access early to our internal system would also solve that problem. So we're going to be workshopping that as best we can. We do know that there are lots of students who weren't able to be here, and so we're going to figure out the best way to get this information out to them in the most timely manner.
I see a question about ROM. We don't have a full decision. Certainly, I think those of you coming from Cotton ODS, as we talked about, it's less likely, but we'll have more guidelines. In terms of the guidelines for face masks and uniform, there's no real official stuff out there. I would encourage you to, be conservative about it. Okay, think. There are going to be, the bookstore is ordering USU, beautiful USU face masks. They come in, I think, black and white is what I have heard. 3 layers. Yeah, I think Dean, you convinced them.
I wanted gray though. So, but no, actually, that is really exciting. Dean Kellerman was very passionate about trying to get face masks with the USU logo on it, and the alumni bookstore is going to be putting an order out, and it's very important to him that you all have an opportunity to get the ability to order those ahead of arrival. Unfortunately, in my brainstorm, if I had all the money in the world and was allowed to spend government dollars, I would buy all of you one as your arrival gift, and I just can't do that. We're not allowed to. Maybe Dean Kellerman can figure it out, but I think it would be really pretty cool if you have to come to school with a face mask on, that you have a really cool USU one. My daughter's a high school senior, having one of those years where nothing has happened. I mean, I feel bad for all of you who had all of your college graduations messed up, because I'm seeing my daughter miss her prom and all this, but her high school gave them a class of 2020 face mask for their high school logo, which I think is perfect. She can wear it in college this fall. So you guys can have your first USU, wear can be your face mask, and how cool will that be for a post on social media?
I saw, where do we report after business hours? The team is going to make it very clear how you guys report and when to report. Nobody will need to come report after business hours. That's the key answer. Okay. Everybody will report during the day, and it'll be okay. Can I wear a navy camo face mask? Go for it. Wear tri-service.
It really is that right now there is truly no guidance other than tasteful for face masks. So I probably wouldn't go hot pink. Right. But I think, anything in the neutralist zone, I think at some point, if we're all trying to wear our sports teams or funny stuff, they might crack down on us. But right now they realize it really is a safety issue. That's why we all have some reduction on our hair regulations right now. Like I haven't had a haircut in several months. I'm finally putting it up because it was too long. Dr. Moranich is starting to skirt the edge of normalcy. These things are all about safety right now. And I just want to say it one more time. Your health is more important than anything to us right now. And secondary to your health is your education. And we will always maintain that prioritization with your arrival, okay? And I just want you guys need to remember how important your own personal health and doing these, if we put you into ROM or if we require you to wear a face mask on campus, things are being done because we're trying to preserve your health and the health of our community.
I put the emails in there, and I want you to know that I typed all those without looking at them. That's how often I have to do their emails.
Just one, I saw a question about reporting specific time for Bethesda on 3 August. You know, I think we're going to share a final orientation schedule with you all as we have it. But right now, because of the arrival dates of all of you that we've alluded to, I think the plan is that any scheduled orientation activities, whether that's in person or virtual, synchronous, will be on 4 August. So I just want to address that question.
Colonel Cavaliers, what do you want to say about uniform requirements?
There's been some going on the expediting and need to be purchased before DCC offered a packing list. So for the if you're going to your officer training, you will get your uniforms at officer training. If you are not able to go to officer training and you're not prior service, don't worry about it. We will help you get uniforms once you get here. You can report in civilian clothes, okay? We will get you there, I promise. Don't panic, all right? I say that a lot in my job. Don't panic, it'll be fine.
And we all have stories of, it's always our friends because we never wore our uniforms wrong, but we have all sorts of great stories about rank being on the wrong way and patches being sewn wrong. So you'll make your mistakes and we'll gently make fun of you and fix you. And then you can tell someone else that someone else did it and it wasn't your issue down the road and you'll have your own story. We'll help you through it. We're all about helping you to be successful. And there's going to be so many amongst your ranks that have some prior service experience. And we expect them to help those of you without prior experience to grow and to learn how to be, how to wear a uniform, how to groom your hair. And the only way we're really good at doing these things is we take care of each other. So if my hair is out of regs, if it's getting a little bit long, someone should feel comfortable coming up to me and say, hey, Dr. Williams, you getting your hair cut sometime soon? Looking a little long, it's hitting your collar. Like that's how you police each other and we set standards and we hold them together. We hold each other accountable and we're gonna help you, okay?
So I see a question about, of course you can purchase boots. That's fine if you want to break them in. Personally procured moves, I would be careful about that, Lauren. Go look at the website that Dr. Leota put up. That's really helpful. Check in with your command team. You can do it, but it is challenging to make sure you get the money back. And yeah, you can break them in. That's fine. Okay.
The hair requirements are by service. So you're going to have to look up your service's hair requirements. I will tell you that it's pretty easy to Google your service requirements these days. And you can find them pretty quickly. And if it will be covered in depth at officer training, they will fix you while you're there if you're not right. And then we will do the same for you once you arrive here. Okay.
For sure.
I think it's the hour, so I don't know.
So I turn into the visionary.
If there's anything, any final words, Colonel Cavaliers or Colonel Williams or from anyone else?
Yeah, we're super excited to see all of you, however we see you, okay? Whether it's video or however we get to do this, it'll be great. And again, it'll all be okay. Everything will be okay. We're gonna get there.
Well, good night, everyone. Thank you again for being here. We will see these questions, we'll look through them. We'll see if we can figure out a way to post this video for those of you who missed it. So you can share it with those individuals. And if we feel like we want to try and do this again in another month, we happily can set that up as well. That's feedback you can give to Dr. Landau We've become very good at setting these up. And we would be happy to have additional conversation if that will help you with your transition. So good night, everyone. Have a great rest of your week.
Good night. Take care, you guys.
See you guys. Good night.
Good night.